I'm Craig O, and join me on my adventures with Craig O's cryptocurrency as we cover the blockchain, Web3, NFT, and cryptocurrency technologies. Interviewing the best in the industry, giving tips and tricks, and also sharing with you projects that I'm most excited about.
You're tuning into Craig O's Crypto Corner, the best in Web3, blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency technology. Great reviews, incredible interviews with the leading people in the Web3 ethos. A great conversation in Web3 can be had when you have two incredibly talented people coming together to create their NFT community known as the CryptoPittz, which was established in November of 2021. CP is known as a blockchain branding and Web3 production group built on the Elrond network. Jared Craig is the founder and owner. He brought the idea forward for a dynamic Web3 brand ecosystem that is committed to pave the way for novel interfacing infrastructure with traditional blockchains. As an artist, tech graphic designer, and videographer, he became a passionate supporter around the foundational ideas and truths of decentralization in early 2017. At that point, he started mining for Bitcoin when he built GPU mining rigs. He then parlayed his earnings into early ICOs. His journey into NFT started in late 2020, before the mad dash of smart contracts began. A light went off in his head, and that's when he decided to assemble a talented team of professionals to develop the next level of algorithmically generated NFTs known as the CryptoPittz, alongside of co-founder Steve Brotman. Steve's career in science and engineering and business development for the past 15 years has allowed him to expand into the Web3 space to partner directly with Jared. He serves as the CryptoPittz team financial and business development partner. They have formed an incredible partnership in developing their vast ecosystem that sits on the Elrond network. Their unique skill sets complement each other's. Jared brings the artistry and creativity to CryptoPittz, and Steven brings the tech and marketing teams together. This combo allows them to build and scale with great efficiency. We will do a deep dive into their community, the value they offer their holders, and the unique partnerships and alliances that they have. Welcome, Jared and Steve. How are you gentlemen today?
What an
How's it going, Craig?
introduction.
I know.
Who were those people?
He covered a lot. I know.
Who
He
were
made it
those
sound
guys?
really cool.
Famous,
I like
famous,
hot.
famous guys.
I'm gonna get you on all the next ones of these that we do, so you can give us that fantastic.
You're coming to
Bruce
every
Buffer
birthday
intro.
party, Craig. Every
I
birthday party.
I appreciate it. You know, it's funny. We call those the Brian Rose intros. Our head hero of Downtime TV, he sent me a video and he says, look at these introductions. They're powerful. And you really want to connect with the guests like you guys, and your ecosystem is incredibly vast. I mean, let's just start off with a very simple question to get our audience pulled in. What is CryptoPittz?
Oosh. You're digging into a thread that runs real deep in our ecosystem.
You only get 2 sentences. What is CryptoPittz?
Yes, we practice this every day.
I would say if I get 2 sentences, CryptoPittz is a dynamic art NFT ecosystem that is pivoting into being a colossal brand in Web3. I would say that pretty much sums up the mission and ethos of what we're trying to do.
Yes,
Got it.
If I had a crack real quick, I just want to throw out, I do think that CryptoPittz is very much so a Web3 branding, marketing, and like building ecosystem, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where we have to really remember that CryptoPittz really is this product around Web3 production, and that's what we've demonstrated with what we've built.
And we're gonna get to that, because I think what you guys are doing, and if people are really in tuned enough and they come into NFTs, which you're buying a token, right, into an ecosystem, is that what you're doing is you're positioning yourself to attract traditional business. So we're going to go there in a second. I promise you. 7,400 e-gold in total traded volume, which at the high of USDC was, our USD fiat was $3.3 million. Now, yeah, I understand there are other projects on the blockchain that may be far exceeded. That's super impressive to be able to do that, to be able to have thousands of loyal CryptoPittz holders that are fully engaged on Twitter and Discord. So, you know, kudos to you guys. Like, let's just leave it there. Do you guys ever step back and appreciate that success?
I just want to call FUD real quick. It's actually 8,000 now.
We not to
So it's 8,000, and
pat
that's
ourselves on the
primary and
back too much,
secondary.
but yeah, over the last mint, we've amassed a few more e-gold, but that's total volume, so you have to consider that as well. That considers secondary sales. But I mean, considering the fact that when we first started, we were struggling to get 100 Discord followers. I mean, that says a lot about, I think, the ingenuity and the hardworking aspects of this team, which we're a relatively small team as far as blockchain projects go in general. We might not be the top for volume on Elrond, but I think everybody on Elrond knows who the CryptoPittz are. I think we've made a name for ourselves. So really proud of everything we've been able to accomplish so far. And that's definitely one aspect to the story is how much total volume we have for sure.
I would venture to bet to say that in Twitter and Discord sphere, outside of Elrond, you guys are known. And I've talked to other people who are in the space who do blog content, who do podcasts. They have heard of you, maybe indirectly, maybe through some of the stuff that I've promoted over the past few weeks. But once they start to dive in, you start to really appreciate what you both have created and how you both have leveraged off of each other's strengths and weaknesses, right? You're weak in one area, your partner fills in that gap, and so does the same. So when you go through the artwork and the airdrops and utility tokens, what are the CryptoPittz positioning themselves for long-term as it concerns traditional businesses? Steve, I'm going to let you take this one away because this is probably the crux of our conversation.
Actually, no, I think Jared and I both have like very much so formed opinions on this. And Jared, I'd like to yield my time to the gentleman in the room.
Sure. As you said at CryptoPittz, we fill each other's holes in a sense, right?
All of them.
I got you. I understand.
We fill holes in businesses and with partners, etc. No, all jokes aside, absolutely. Like that's one of the things that was sort of an ethos for CryptoPittz starting out, is like we wanted to address some of the things that we saw as maybe issues or challenges for other projects starting out in this space. For one, just the move to Elrond in general. I started out as an NFT collector on Ethereum after moving from being, an investor in cryptocurrencies and participating in decentralized networks, as you mentioned earlier, through building GPU mining rigs for Ethereum and other proof of work blockchains. I sort of saw an intersection between two of my passions, which were artwork. I've been a graphic designer in a professional sense for about 15 years. And I've also been interested in cryptocurrency since about 2017. So I saw a natural intersection to be able to sort of fulfill some needs that hadn't really been explored too much as far as I was concerned. I saw a real lack of artistic ingenuity going on with algorithmic collection specifically. So your question is multi-layered, and I'd like to approach this in the best way possible. But I think CryptoPittz fulfills a lot of things that, again, we're lacking. For one, finding our artist, Curtis Tullymore, really sort of bringing this upper level algorithmic art that doesn't look like algorithmic art, I think was really important for us in the beginning. And I think still remains like a testament of why a lot of people find themselves drawn to CryptoPittz, is because of the fantastic art, but the underlying smart contract values that utilities that CryptoPittz brings, I think eventually supersede that. So we sort of have bring them in with the art and then keep them here with the utility sort of ethos.
I love that.
Maybe.
No, let me stop you right there. And we are going to
Sure.
go into to the artist, because that to me is one of the drawing things. Let's talk about, when you talk about generative art, right? Algorithmic art. What does that in nuanced term for someone that's tuning in? Because the learning curve, right? We're into NFTs, and the things that I'm talking about now sometimes are higher level, and someone that's just watching, tuning in, going, "Oh, what the hell does that mean?" So what does that mean? Algorithmic art. Break that down simplistically for us, please.
So simplistically, most people are familiar with algorithms in a general sense. You're encoding an AI, for lack of a better word, to be able to produce unique artworks that you give it inputs for. So when you're creating like an algorithmic collection, all those things in our collections, all the various collections, are hand drawn. Those are inputs that we give it, which we end up calling traits at the end. And those traits are interpreted by the algorithm by a mathematical equation, for to summarize pretty much.
Got it.
So based on our inputs, given the programming and the math and the artwork together, give the AI the ability to generate unique works of art. And all these works are unique. So there's
Okay.
in CryptoPittz, Steve will probably know the
You,
figure, like
no,
how
you
many
forgot to tell
possibilities.
them to divide by Y.
Divide by Y and
Right.
add a bunch of.
But to answer really quick, Craig, just because I'm the dumbest person in the room, I promise you, Mr. Potato Head. If you
I
want to
don't think so.
understand algorithmic art, understand how Mr. Potato Head works. You have a mold, and
Yep.
you build all these traits,
Right.
and you have all these holes, and you
Right.
can plug in, mix and match those traits
Yep.
into different holes.
Yeah, I
And
always
that's
say that smart contracts are if and ands, right? If this happens, that happens. If that happens, then this happens. So it's all programs of yes and no's, if and ands. You know, whenever I'm talking to somebody simplistically about a smart contract, and we will get somebody on who's pretty good with smart contracts. And so in that sense, all right, Mr. Potato Head, back to you. Like, question for you though.
I do.
Is that on chain or off chain with the algorithmic art for the CryptoPittz community?
That's off chain. Yeah.
That's off chain.
So that
Okay.
that takes place within so what our base code was a open source tool called Hashlips, which is utilized by a lot of various NFT projects. It was created by a developer who goes by the name of Hashlips, who makes his software free to use for other people. Is the beauty of Web3 and open source. We've taken that and we've made a proprietary version of that we call the CryptoPittz Art Engine. And we've spent a lot of development hours and many late nights fine tuning this algorithm for our purposes to learn how to utilize it, because you can't just put a bunch of random inputs into this thing and some artwork that sort of fits together and then expect it to create like a 10K collection. Like that's what most NFT projects are shooting for. On Elrond, we usually cap it a little bit more, and even on bigger chains like Ethereum and Solana, a lot of projects have found the value in reducing the amount of supply. But regardless, you're trying to
parties.
do 1,000 burn parties, exactly, which we have going on right now for CryptoPittz. But the idea being, you want to create a multitude of these things, right? And you want them all to be individually unique, and then you want those individual unique traits to present aesthetically in a singular form, where a person who owns one token, you don't want to make 10 people happy and 5,990 people unhappy. That's just not what you want to be after. You want every person who owns a token to be happy with the end result.
And you're speaking of sort of the balance of an overall healthy collection where it's in a sense, it's a one of one. Mine is unique rarity and traits. Mine is specific to me, right? Which is could be utilized as my PFP.
Which is hugely important to the collectible aspect of it.
Absolutely. So let's move forward from there, right? So near and dear in the Web3 ethos is the near and dear to my heart, because they were on our podcast, was the Super Rare Bear family and Mr. Duncan Twig, right, at the helm of marketing. How did that relationship for you guys develop, and what's the importance of having alliances with other NFT communities for the CryptoPittz specifically?
Well, I guess I could jump in and say that Duncan is an old friend of mine in the Elrond space. I got into the Elrond space early 2020, so pre-mainnet launch, I was really involved in sort of understanding what this technology was at an early stage. When I joined CryptoPittz, I kind of introduced the concept of maybe Elrond being a place that we migrate to from from Ethereum, when we were originally considering where to launch this, like what blockchain. But Duncan and I go way back. We're part of like what I call this like kind of private fraternity, if you will, of Elrond OGs who've just been in the game for a long time and have supported each other through some of the ups and downs, and we've been through them all. From $1 up to $17, down to $5, up to 35, back to 6, and then all the way up to 550. So it's a support network, and a brotherhood and sisterhood, because there are some sisters in there as well. But with respect to super rare bears, we always knew that they were someone that we as CryptoPittz looked up to in some sense, because they had come in, created this huge art with a lot of traits that we had all. We're a huge trait project as well. Jared could speak to that. And Duncan has just always been someone that we've trusted. Super Rare Bears has always been a product that has been innovative. They were the first, if you ask me, to kind of reward the holders on the scale that they did, and introduce that whole mechanic to a lot of projects who have been a copy pasta of that mechanic as well. And they're just really loyal to Elrond.
I love
So
that.
so we thought that they'd be just early on. They were a perfect partner for us because we
I
thought
love
they were
that.
yeah.
And I love that positive energy, right? Because that's what it's about when you're building a blockchain. And a small, awesome blockchain like Elrond needs the love and support from communities, NFT
Right.
communities, and reducing the FUD. I love when communities will ask questions of their founders and of the devs. And just because it's a question that you might not like, doesn't mean it's fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Please just think about that, right? That's
Right.
pretty heavy. Let's talk about some of these partnerships with Proto DeFi, Aerovec, and Kavari. How do these partnerships overall benefit the ecosystem of Elrond, but most importantly, our CryptoPittz family?
I think we could
Yeah.
both talk to that. Yeah.
I'd say with things like that, I'll interject before Steve. These partner companies and projects, it continually adds value to our core community and token holders, as you know, they'll always have first access and benefits to all these new enterprises. But it creates a continuous, like, self-sustaining system of organic growth. As it also rewards the new communities that we're sort of penetrating, right? So it's a mutually beneficial thing with all of our partnerships. We enter them, with uh, very careful in calculated terms, and we aim to deliver very specific results with it. We always want it to be a mutually beneficial thing, because that's the thing that's going to be sustainable for the long term, right? We don't want either side of a partnership to be, disproportionately advantageous, and we always want to create continuous utility for our original holders,
So
which is at the core of what NFTs are really about in the first place anyway, right? Exclusivity. And we're building this continuous exclusivity for not only the earliest holders but the new holders as well. Every time we add a new project, it adds more utility to our ecosystem.
I love it. And so, like, just more specifically diving down into, Aerovec or Kavari, what specific value do they provide? Like, what do they specifically do, and why did you team up with them?
With Aerovec specifically, Steve, you want to take that one? That's yeah.
Oh, I mean, Aerovec's a no-brainer. I mean, look at one of the first projects Aerovec. Ryan, their CEO, has been in the game since day one. He's an OG guy. They built the most. I guess when you think of who the prototypical staking agency to work with on Elrond was, it was always the Elrond Aerovec, the Aerovec staking farms.
They're a
Those were the ones.
household name.
Household name, right? And they had the coolest rewards. They gave the airdrops of the Nogin product line, and it was just like So anyway, so with respect to the respect that Aerovec has garnered from the Elrond community, we thought it was a great opportunity to at least petition them to see, if there was something there. Just so happened that they're kind of in our backyard, and we share geographical, kind of vicinity with them. And which is amazing, because I'll tell you, in the blockchain Web3 space, you're literally working a global market. We're on calls at 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. and 2 p.m., in the same day, because you just have these connections in Asia and Europe, etc. So great opportunity there to be together. We invited them out for our CryptoPittz celebration that we had to all of our community holders back in Vegas, in Vegas rather, back in April. We hit it off, and we kind of sort of chopped it up on, like, what are some opportunities that we see each other mutually benefiting from,
I love
here
it.
we are.
And how about Kavari?
Well,
I'd say
directly,
that's the same thing. So I'm on the Kavari Council, the advisory board for it.
Okay.
Again, we hit it off with the Aero team, not only in Vegas, but prior to that, we had been playing a partnership for quite some time, because we just had a vibe between the two teams. We love those guys. They're near and dear to our hearts as far as, like, company ethos and everything goes, the geographical location that Steve spoke to. And personally, as a content creator, a videographer, a person who has been kind of, releasing their content for a very long time on these, like, centralized platforms, I've personally been affected by the aspects of, centralized networks in a totally negative capacity, where it, like, really stifles creativity. And I love the idea of Kavari. I love how hardworking Ryan and his team are. The innovation they're offering, there's only very few companies that are even working on anything remotely close to this, and they're not doing it as innovative and sort of pioneering technology as Elrond is. And I mean, I just see so much opportunity for Kavari. If for anybody that's listening, if you haven't checked out their ecosystem yet, it's amazing. The things that they have planned. I mean, Ryan is just so passionate. Like, we're in, private telegrams for the Kavari advisory board, and he's just constantly updating us all on the nonstop work that goes into what he's creating with Kavari, a decentralized sharing platform where content creators actually own their content and are able to distribute it freely without bounds is just something that the world really needs in this time of mass censorship, where algorithms are sort of keeping down content that deserves to be out there. Everybody's voice needs to be heard.
I know.
So again,
Tell me about it.
we share exactly like I hope you to see your videos, uploaded to Kavari, and I'm sure we could even use the help in the leading up to the release of the alpha, or I'm sorry, the final versions of Kavari, like having content creators like you to be able to test your content and you just see how you like the platform.
That's pretty cool.
We get a lot of value out of that.
These relationships build and they develop. We create that great content together. So I want to keep this moving, right? So for me, I call it OG City for your long-term peeps, right? Your investors, your holders, they believe in this driven mission and the long-term purpose so that they can continue to invest, which allows you to then deploy new NFTs for past, present, and future holders, right? So what is the strategy for you guys when you're thinking around a new release? And we're going to dive into some more of your ecosystem, but tell me a little bit more about that.
So what goes into
okay, so let me
our
rephrase
ideas
it for you.
For a new release?
Strategy for new releases, right? When you right now, we'll talk about Dope Eagles today. We're going to talk about Pawn Whales. We talked a little bit about CryptoPittz. We're going to talk about Vice Pits, right? You've got a lot of things going on. So when you're putting a new release, what are you looking at before you're getting ready to do that new release? Are you testing it in Twitter and Discord? Are you asking some questions to see where the community is? I'd say emotionally, financially, like what are your thoughts there when you're getting ready to present a new collection?
Absolutely. Oh, the first resource that we always have is our Discord. We have something called the Roundtable there, which is all of our OG mods and new mods alike. There are people who are influencers within our community who we test out ideas on them regularly initially, and rely on them heavily for how something is going to be received by the community. Some of the decisions are surprises, and we decide to that something's overall going to be good for our community, and as the alphas we release stuff that's undecided or what have you, but like we do like to get a lot of community input on everything that we do, and we are one of those teams that like makes ourselves available any given time during the day. If you drop into Discord, and especially in our mod chats, we're very voracious consumers of criticism when it comes to our own community and our extended community. So we always take those things into account. A lot of what we've been kind of doing with CryptoPittz is experimental, as the entire space is sort of in this experimental sort of phase. So a part of that natural process is, of course, absorbing what our users are saying about it, taking that back to the lab, and working on it, working on ourselves, working on our team, to better fulfill the needs of I don't even like to use the word consumers. They're like our collectors, and like we call ourselves the fam inside of Discord, because a lot of us like know each other in our personal lives, and beyond. That's one of the magic things about Web3 and this whole community building aspect is you're sort of creating an alternative social network in a way where you're connecting people on this level where you already have something in common, and then you learn about each other, and you forge lasting relationships. It's really akin to what I feel like video games are to a lot of people when you join these communities. Some of the better aspects of social media, etc. But Web3 connects people in a way that allows them true ownership, and I think that affords all these new possibilities of like interconnection and community in ways that we haven't really explored before, and that's really exciting to us.
I so agree with you, because the thing that's most exciting for me about Web3 is the ability to build value off of peer-to-peer, and we will talk a little bit about the coins that build value, meaning the staking opportunities. We're going to dive into that in a little bit. The ProtoPitts, what is their role in the CryptoPittz ecosystem?
Steve, you're on mute.
Classic.
There you
Hi. So Proteo Pit represents our relationship with Proteo DeFi, which if you don't know about Proteo DeFi, they came in like, a bull into a china shop when they broke into Elrond during a bear market, coming in as low as $1.47 if you got in that early promo that CryptoPittz kind of part community members could participate in, and skyrocketed about 10x in a bear market, like at the lowest of the lows. So they came in with a great novel idea for usurping the existing Maiar decks in a manner that can provide I guess you could almost call it like a valence level of DeFi, and people are able to kind of build liquidity tokens off of the liquidity on the Maiar decks already. So we thought like, whoa, this is awesome. This is an opportunity for us to really kind of expand into another type of market, right? The DeFi market. Because remember, the Elrond ecosystem is about 10,000 or so folks kind of in total in the industry, plus or minus, especially during this bear market. But when you look at the wallet holders of Elrond, you're looking at like 1.8 million wallets on Elrond. It's a no-brainer that a successful project like something with ambitions such as ours needs to break and penetrate to other spaces. So we developed this relationship with Proteo. Jose is a good friend of ours, and we had worked with him prior at Moonlorian. And so among other things, we built this collection of Proteo Pits. And really what they're going to do is they're going to serve in the Proteo DeFi ecosystem. Interesting, right? Novel. Here's a product or an asset developed by CryptoPittz and usurped in another ecosystem in order to build up their loyalty program. And in this case, they're doing this NFT campaign currently with $600,000 in prizes. And ProteoPittz, there's two of them. One if you are a CryptoPittz holder, one if you're a Proteo holder. Obviously, you received one of each if you're both the ProteoPittz twins. And those get you points in this loyalty program with Proteo DeFi to earn or win, I should say, up to $600,000 in prizes. So it kind of serves as a little bit of a lottery loyalty program within their ecosystem.
And for those that don't know, right, I'm going to call out some of these unique terms. Usurp. What does that mean?
Sure. I have no clue.
No, taking over everything.
No, usurp is obviously it's like kind of like lending itself from something, right? So actually taking something from something and kind of using it for their purposes, right? So if they're usurping an NFT we created for their ecosystem, it's got the branding of CryptoPittz and everything, but it's being used for their purposes, right?
Got it.
So in that sense, we're trying to create these relationships beyond, right, this siloed NFT space of 10,000 participants. Where's that 1.8 million? Where's that market share? How do you penetrate into that?
I love it. You know what's interesting? When you talk about strategy, you guys are at the highest level of strategy. And by that, you talk about Kavari, you talk about Aerovec, you've just spoken about ProtoPittz, how those have all come together to open up your audience in a much more, in a faster, more efficient manner, while providing value and getting new people into CryptoPittz, but also knowing about these other ecosystems that you shout out. How cool is that? I do want to dive in, though, a little bit on a screen share. So I'm going to have Tony so kindly bring us into a screen share. And I want to talk to you guys about the CryptoPittz Launchpad in real time so that everybody can get a feel for how cool this is. And then I want to talk about CryptoPittz, Dope Eagles, and Pawn Whales on the Launchpad. So, Tony, can you cue us into that? Thank you, my friend. All right. So, Jared, since you probably have kind of designed maybe the art of this or around how this layout was going to happen, I'm going to assume that based on the intro. Tell me a little bit about what I'm looking at right here on the Launchpad.
So basically, the UI was actually designed by our UI guys. I can be thanked for some of the artwork that you see, just as thumbnails and things like that. But we're a functionality first Launchpad. This is meant to be an extremely bare bones presentation of our Launchpad and projects. I know you might look at this and be like, this doesn't look very fancy. That is of very little concern to us, because in my experience, form over functionality is not the way that you want to go in blockchain. You want things to work. You want your website to work under load. We put a lot of our investment and development dollars into a smart contract that actually works. We have a proven track record of being able to handle thousands of users at once, all minting at one specific time, to be able to pull NFTs from our smart contract. If anybody who's ever participated in a mint on Ethereum or on those unfortunate projects that have don't have like the server space or don't have the extensive testing that we do on our launchpad. They have like botched launches, and this is the last thing that we wanted. We had a lot of guidance. We initially started out launching with Moonlorian, and we took some notes from those guys because we had flawless launches working with them, and then implementing those sort of same principles into our launchpad. That's where we landed on as far as like the visuals of what you're seeing. So again, functionality over form when it comes to that. But
I agree with you, my friend.
that being said, there's tons of room for improvement always. Being a digital artist myself, like I appreciate aesthetics that, I do not downplay like the importance of something needs to be cool looking in this space, right? And we put a lot of that energy into the NFTs. We put a lot of that energy into the artwork that goes into the actual assets themselves. So yeah, I think when it comes to the launchpad, that's been our main focus is tech functionality.
I think tech functionality is incredibly important. I mean, I feel it on the Ethereum blockchain. I feel it on Solana. I feel it on Elrond. And what's most important, and what I love the Mire app, right? And this is just, it's fact. It is the easiest wallet to use, period. It's just that easy. Hero tag, ease of use, quick speed of transactions, low transaction fees. And I'm loving of the powerful NFT communities like yourselves, like Super Rare Bears, how you guys are positioning yourself, not just this year, next year, 5, 10 years out. We talked a little bit about the collection of CryptoPittz, and we're going to talk about the artist in a minute. But tell me, how did you go from CryptoPittz to Vice Pits, right? Because that's an interesting delineation. And in the middle, you have a hero tag that you get to remember your CryptoPittz with.
Sure. I'll pick that one up. The reroll system is one of the things that our team and myself, being the founder, are most proud of. One of the things that this was born of was our other co-founder, Batbull, if you guys are familiar with him, Adam. He and I kind of cut our teeth together in the NFT space in mid 2021, leading up to the inception of CryptoPittz in late 2021. We had participated in a ton of Ethereum NFT mints, Solana NFT mints, and sort of saw like we were just terrible at minting, So what we wanted to do is we wanted to create a utility for not only the 5% of people who get the top ranks in your project. We wanted to create utility for people who maybe didn't have that luck at minting, so the reroll system is novel. I haven't seen this adapted to any other NFT collection, but the bottom 20% ranks in our collection actually have some of the most utility, as you can roll those straight into what we call the Vice collection, which is your reroll or opportunity to roll those dice again and get a different rarity. So it's a choice. It's obviously like something that you can choose to engage in or not to, and it requires Bones token, which you said we're going to get into soon. So you have to be involved in our ecosystem, A. You have to have bad luck at minting, B, and you have to be interested in engaging with NFTs in a way that I think a lot of collectors are not used to. It's like sort of a set it and forget it sort of thing. You buy the asset, you stick it in your wallet. Maybe at some point, a couple months from then, you try to sell it or you post it on, a secondary market or whatever, what have you. We wanted to create a more engaging experience for the people who are holding our NFTs by creating these novel experiences. And a lot of it came from, I'm a collector and a long time gamer. So when I was growing up, like Pokemon cards, Magic cards were a huge thing. I loved collecting comic books, and being a 10-year-old kid trying not to open, a first edition Spider-Man 300, and not have the enjoyment of like opening it. Took a lot of self-control. So we want to adapt some of those cool like collector things to our NFT collection. So when you re-roll one of your lower Vice Pits into what we call a loot box, you can decide to keep that loot box unopened forever. And that can be your unopened pack of Pokemon cards that someday might be worth a lot of money. We wanted to adapt some of these real world sort of collector things into our NFT collection. So that was where that concept was sort of born.
Yeah. And by the way, I say to people right now, especially if you're coming into the space, do away with the idea of instant gratification. It doesn't exist. You might get lucky and something will pop. You'll hit a home run, but nobody's ever sold something and felt good about it. We're always happy about to take profit when that's needed, to obviously gain extra liquidity and re-strategize. But the one thing you just mentioned, and this is why I'm so excited about you guys, is that you talked about, and I have never used this phrase on my podcast yet, is to reverse engineer. So when we talk about exclusivity, exclusivity is usually held for the top 5 or 1% of a collection. And those are usually the individuals that are getting the most high level rarity and trait. And with this reroll, you actually did it in reverse, where the whole community and the bottom 20% of the collection had a chance to actually collect or to capture a vice pit that was much higher ranked than somebody who might be more established. And talk about a really cool way of community building. So kudos to you, gentlemen, for it. That's what excites me, is the mindset behind it, right? The art's really cool. That's what gets most people involved. But if anybody that's listening in on this and will listen after, that strategy is a high level thinking strategy, and I love it. All right, so let's get to this next part, right? We've got, what are collars, meta keys, and dog tags? Dog tags, there we go. And how do these items intertwine with the Pittz ecosystem?
Sure. So right off the bat, the collars are something that we, first of all the NFTs you just mentioned, they're free NFTs, free in the sense of these were benefits that we awarded to existing holders to sort of further their value and investment into our ecosystem. First of all, right off the bat, all of those are, bespoke 3D designs that were done by our artist, Curdy Tullymore, who's extremely talented. So the first thing about that I want people to understand about the quote unquote free NFTs that we distribute is we put a lot of thought into these things. And, all of our users can attest to the fact that I'm sure everybody on Elrond who owns an NFT has gotten one of these like meme ads in their wallet, right? Where it's just this, for lack of a better word, it's this hot garbage that just gets shoved into your wallet that nobody wants, everybody wants to burn. The first thing you need to understand about, like, if you want to kind of penetrate the market of like dropping NFTs into people's wallets, it's got to be something that's sick, right? It's got to be something that's undeniable. It's got to be something that's really fucking cool. Sorry, I hope I can swear.
You're good. You
you're
can
gonna have
swear.
to edit that out later.
Good.
But like, we wanted it to be undeniable. So right off the bat, the collars were something that we offered to people who were our earliest investors who bought, I think the threshold, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but it was 5 CryptoPittz from any one of our whitelist mints or any one of the first public mints that you could get a collar. And the collar serves as sort of like, you could call it like a season pass. Like, our collar holders, we know, are the most dedicated people who have been with us since the get, and they will always get preferential treatment when it comes to whitelists, new projects. For instance, we just launched the Metabomb in a partnership with the Faceless Many, and all of our collar holders automatically get a Metabomb whether you mint off of our new collection or not. Moving on from that, the meta keys were something that we offered as a special because we had told people from the beginning that we were watching wallets and we were aggregating data from people who minted our NFT right from the get and then kept that NFT in their wallet until we did a snapshot like months later. And all those people who held at least one CryptoPitt and never transferred the wallet got a free meta key, and the people who held 5 NFTs from those wallets got a diamond key. Those keys are actually earmarked for ownership of this might be one of the first times we're mentioning it, but we're planning on integrating the concept of metaverse land and into a greater map later on. So like meta keys are actually very cheap right now in secondary market, and I think that's due to a lot in part to the fact that we haven't really pushed that yet, because with CryptoPittz we're more of a do before we say sort of project. But the keys will be intrinsically linked to our future dog houses, our future metaverse play. And then finally, coming back to the dog tags that you mentioned, the dog tags are meant to be a collectible so that you could always remember your vice pit that you traded in your original Genesis pit for. You'll always know what number it was, what it looked like, and those will have a special utility that we have as yet not released. Up until now, I think there's a lot to this market that sort of centers around you got to keep people guessing, and you have to keep people interested with a little bit of mystery, right? And for all those out there that think these are just sort of dead tokens hanging out in your wallet, I assure you that later on you're going to want to be holding onto those dog tags, because we are going to implement some serious utility for it in the future. For now, they're a collectible, but later on you will be happy that you have them for sure. So that sort of summarizes.
No, I love it. And by the way, patience is your friend in this bear market. You got to really engage and really drive forward with the community. So if you get, I say to everybody, if you get involved, whether it's CryptoPittz or any other community, you got to go onto the Twitter and Discord. You got to see what they're saying once a day, say hello, start building those relationships, because with that, it's going to then help you to understand where this project's going long-term. Because if you don't believe in something and you just got into a project or a community, and I was going to say a business, right? Because this is a business that you guys are building. You're thinking, you're strategizing. The other thing is that you're right. You have to have sizzle and then deliver the steak. And I see a lot of people have a lot of sizzle and it fizzles with no delivering of absolute value. And you guys are doing that. And what's interesting is you're strategizing around these different smart contracts, and you're keeping your audience there captive. You're building, when I say captive, I mean, they can go if they want, but the whole thing is to keep them engaged, and you're doing that. And I can see just by how I've read through all the stuff that you've done, and I want people to get really involved. So let's go into the next part, right? Dope Eagles, right? Which are, they're the, I guess they're the inaugural avatar release that is tied to the Kavari ecosystem. It's a first of its kind decentralized NFT video and live streaming platform. Talk to me a little bit about Dope Eagles and why people should be so excited about this.
Sure. You want to take this, Steve?
I mean, what I'll say is, it's another byproduct of the genius of Curdy Collimore. It's an extraordinarily collectible batch of beautiful NFTs. Additionally, it is something novel that has not been done, is really identifying how to gamify the NFT experience. Like, one thing CryptoPittz has really done is we've captivated people with this extraordinary art. But then we've also sort of kept them engaged through these very novel, innovative tools and kind of interconnectivities that we've built within our ecosystem. So people don't just have an NFT sitting in their wallet. They can actually have some use case in this world. If you're interested in earning more Bones tokens, if you're interested in participating in some of our other activities, receiving other assets, what have you, playing now into our storyline that we're creating. So with Dope Eagles, that was kind of another creative formation of how do we create a gamified experience, specifically with staking and your NFT. And so that's what we kind of approached Aerovec with, and that's kind of something that was born to kind of produce on the Kavari ecosystem. Is, here's a brand new platform that's got, extraordinarily high ceiling. We have this really, really badass, cool artwork that's kind of obviously in sort of the eagle, bird theme, which Aerovec kind of takes on that as their mascot in their aviators collection. So we thought this is a really cool opportunity for us to build a really cool, neat, gamified experience for people who are invested in the Kavari or want to be invested in the Kavari ecosystem, and they'll be able to earn Kavari tokens. And one of the few ways you can earn Kavari tokens is by owning a Dope Eagle. So yet another sort of interesting modality. Instead of owning a coin, sometimes you can own an NFT and reap the same benefit.
And I love that because it speaks to the idea of gamification, right? You have to be plugged into the ecosystem to get every little nuance that's going on with the CryptoPittz. And if you don't, you might be behind the 8 ball, but you can very quickly make that up. And I always said at the very beginning when I was learning the nuance of Web3, and as the podcast has been developing, is that there are things now that make sense to me, but I don't forget, it's not too far behind when I'm talking to a family or a friend. Craig, what was that you were talking about? I don't get it. And yet it's not nuanced to me anymore, but to others that it is, and we want to bring new people. When you describe the CryptoPittz community, who is the average CryptoPittz holder? And by the way, it's very vast. I get Web3, just like life, is very diverse, and I love that. But when you think about that, is there a certain individual that is most attracted to the CryptoPittz family that you guys notice right now?
A bunch of degenerates.
Just stoner degenerates.
Stoners and degenerates, and I love it. By the way,
they're people that are very near and dear to our hearts.
Very intelligent.
By the way, intelligent stoners and degenerates, and that's totally cool. But you have to have a risk mentality in the wild west of Web3 this early on, and if you don't, might not be the place for you, and that's okay. All right. So let's go and talk a little bit about Pawn Whale. Now, I did speak with, I believe, one of, I believe either the dev. I probably spoke with somebody over the summer because I was learning so many different things about all the nuances, you know, of the Elrond network. And so tell me a little bit about Pawn Whale loaning on your NFTs, because this is a project that is part of the CryptoPittz ecosystem.
Yes, it certainly is. And really, to be clear and frank, it is an offshoot, right? CryptoPittz doesn't have ownership per se of Pawn Whale. You know, the IP belongs to the Pawn Whale dev team, right? But CryptoPittz is an inherent and interlocked, you know, partner with Pawn Whale. We launched them. We definitely have a stake in their success, and we're very much so involved in kind of building all the assets and development behind the scenes of Pawn Whale. And in effort, Pawnwell is something that is unique to the NFT industrial complex on Elrond, right? Here's a loaning, right? A loaning mechanic built on top of the asset. So now people always complain about NFTs being illiquid. It's an illiquid asset. Like, how can I actually get funding if I needed funding right now for this NFT? We're basically filling that gap, finding that, you know, building that solution where someone can come to Pawnwell, pawn their NFT. They have, you know, anywhere from 3, 5, 7, 11 days to pay us back. Yeah, they pay us a little fee based on the terms of the loan, just like any other loan structure you would see out there. It's all decentralized, it's smart contract governed, and it's really simple. It's got an awesome NFT sort of package built around it, right? So you could actually own these chess piece, I shouldn't say pawn, but chess pieces. And each chess piece kind of have that graduating scale of efficacy within this system where you could earn either more interest on that NFT or pay less fees, or the combination of the both. So it's actually like a super brilliant concept, you know, and we have to remember that this is still conceptual. It's going to be released. It's going live. We're having like a soft release, I think, here in the next couple of
soft release. Yeah, in a few
weeks.
weeks. Yeah.
I love it.
So we're excited.
And by the way, I spoke, I'm forgetting who I spoke, because again, it's been a busy summer, and we talked about the magic number 11 versus day 10 because of unstaking and then being able to pay back that loan so you don't lose. So what I loved about that is it was ethical, because you could have done 10 days and be like, oh, it's gone. But they want the success. They want to make money. They have a primary or a superhero store, I guess you'd say, like for the top tier people, which has like the highest level of NFT, and then they have the general store for everyone else. But I like sort of the gamification of it, and I like the loan aspect to where people then can start playing in other ecosystems, or actually within the Elrond network, and being able to then find or grab opportunities. I do want to now go with you guys, and Tony, we're going to go into the Boneyard, and I want to talk about this because it's part of what builds the value of CryptoPittz financially over time. And then obviously we're going to sequence back a little bit to traditional business, because that's what you guys are very much on the road to doing, is attracting products and services integrated into your Web3 company, which is the CryptoPittz. So guys, talk to me a little bit about the Boneyard. We're coming up on that screen share right now.
Sure, I'll take this one. You can think about the Boneyard as, you know, obviously our staking site that features our dynamic staking mechanisms. And deeper than that, our Bones token, you can think of it as loyalty points in the form of crypto. It's an Elrond standard digital token that has a cap supply at 1 billion. In the future will become deflationary as well as we begin to introduce more mechanics. But what this does is it rewards holders who stake their NFTs, whether it's maybe one of your Metacallers or one of your Genesis CryptoPittz or your Vice CryptoPittz. And depending on the number of NFTs you stake and in which farms you stake those in, if anybody who's familiar with crypto staking, it's the same principle. You get paid a commensurate amount of Bones token for, you know, locking up those NFTs. And we have, you know, various tiers that you can do that in and engage with that in. And then what that does is it rewards you in our ecosystem with further opportunities for utility. Like we spoke about the reroll function before. In order to do a reroll, you'll need 50,000 Bones token and MetaKey, which is the other function of the MetaKey that we mentioned earlier. And then using the combination of that 50,000 Bones token, your MetaKey, you can roll into a loot box, which then you can keep that loot box. It's its own NFT. You could take that numbered loot box, you could sell it on a market, you could stick it in your wallet, you could keep it forever if you wanted to, or you could roll it into a Vice pit. And we have a 1-to-1 ratio for all of our bottom 20% for vice pits. So I noticed some people on Twitter worried if they didn't re-roll right away, they wouldn't have access to vice pits. No matter what, if you have one of those qualifying Genesis pits in the bottom 20%, you will always have the opportunity. If you obtain a meta key and you obtain 50,000 bones, you will be able to get that loot box that corresponds to that vice pit. Not only that, but we have many other sort of utilities that we offer for the Bones token. Not only do they have value in our current partners and future partners ecosystems, but we have another thing called the multi-collection minter that we're releasing later on this month. It'll be before the end of September. And you'll be able to exchange those Bones tokens for a chance at pulling the wheel. It'll have sort of a gambling aspect to it, a slot machine, where you could get one of our NFTs from our many collections, one of our partner NFTs, and you can get we'll have a certain ratio of in real life prizes that you can win by obtaining an NFT through luck, through our Bones minter. You'll be able to turn that into real value in real life with VR headsets and hardware wallets, other crypto related, game related things that we put in the minter, all of which will be announced on our website. So it's like a fun way to sort of keep people engaged with our ecosystem and reward our original holders, because that's what this is all about, right? What we're talking about is creating value for people, real world value for holding these NFTs, in addition to all the things that they're already receiving. Utility is the name of the game, right? And Bones token is your loyalty points for how long you've been dedicated to our ecosystem. You are awarded in a commensurate fashion.
I love it. I love it. This is truly a dynamic staking platforms, that being the Boneyard. I love the simplicity. Again, ease of use versus flashy. I don't want flashy. I want ease of use, and I want to be able to understand the nuances of Web3, because that's how we start to attract the idea of mass adoption. And I think we're quite a way off from that. And I think the bear market did, I think, a number of things. One is in a positive fashion, it took some pressure off of people who are here working and developing, and it gave us a chance to get rid of all that noise. But I think it also slowed down the adoption. I think that adoption last year was just speeding up. I mean, there were people coming in going, what's a seed freeze? Yet they have a wallet. They don't even know. They could literally give away all their money like that. So that's at least my thought on it. When someone hears the word, right here, I want to break down some nuances. When someone hears the word novel interface, the words novel interface, as it concerns the use of NFTs, what should they be conceptualizing?
I mean, there's a lot of ways that you could interpret novel interface. I mean, for a project like ours, the novel interface that you're going to be engaging with before you get to us is Elrond, right? It's going to be the Myra wallet, the DeFi wallet as an extension of your browser. When it comes to our ecosystem's novel interface, there's a bit of a learning curve, but I feel that learning curve is super valuable for people. Let's be clear. I don't think that everybody out there should be invested in NFTs. I don't think everybody out there should be invested in risky assets, period. If you're worried about paying your rent, if you're worried about how you're going to put food on the table, you probably shouldn't be investing in things that aren't going to they're going to take a while to pay out, right? But for the rest of the people who like us are interested in tech, who are interested in the way that these mechanisms and these tools are going to shape the future, because they are. Make no mistake,
Yeah,
NFTs are going to be a part of everybody's life. Sooner or later, these technologies will make their way to you, whether you're mentally accepting that or not. They're gonna find their way to the cultural zeitgeist. And if at that point you are one of these people who is sort of ahead of the curve, who was into these things as they came up in the admittedly very risky period that we're in right now, while we're in this proving ground, while we're figuring out what this technology does and how it applies to the future, all the people who are invested in it now, all the companies who are creating this technology now, we're going to be like the Web 2 of before. Like all the Amazons and the Googles and those sort of companies they're being found right now. You just don't know it yet. 10 years 100%. In the future, fast forward, CryptoPittz, I hate to break it to you, not financial advice, people, but like we are a brand that's here to stay. If you want to be on board with us, I encourage you to learn about the ecosystem. But 100%. Again, this is not for everybody. This is not for the faint of heart.
100%. But I want to drive that point. By the way, I want to give a shout out to, I think, about 30 plus people on our Twitter Spaces, so people are really tuning in. Pit Panther
Woof,
said
woof.
he thought we got rugged on the
Pit
call,
crowd.
so no, shout out to you, Greg. No, we're good. We're good now, and he said we were good. You know, this is the thing about what complex ecosystems like yours and others are doing, is that you are completely tuned into the idea of attracting products and services. And when you attract everyday businesses that merge into an NFT collection like yours, what do you think happens to the floor people? But right, let's be clear, you and I, you know, Jared, we're not giving financial advice. If you have money to play with, do your due diligence. I can't say it enough. And be a diamond mine, diamond hand holder. And yeah, when you can get profits, get them. Be a pig. Don't be a hog and get slaughtered. Lord knows I've gotten slaughtered a few times over, and that's okay. I'm willing to admit it. Why did you choose the Elron network specifically to call home to scale the CryptoPittz family and projects to follow?
Besides the incessant insistence of sellout about how we needed to look at the Elron network, I will say the thing that really sold me on it was finding out about the advantages of the technology versus, again, being a collector that came from the Ethereum space. I mean, you know, I was there at the inception, you know, while Bored Ape Yacht Club was coming up. You know, I participated in mints like the Doge Pound. You know, I collected collections like Vogu. I saw the insane gas wars of projects like Megaverse, where you could be participating in a gas war and spend $3,000 on gas and you didn't even get the asset at the end, which was absurd. It was like I got like, it was super baller to be able to like participate in that kind of stuff. But like at the end of the day, what did you get? You had like a 10-second window where you could propulsively spend like some absurd amount of gas on the chance that you might get some asset. And I was looking at this and I was like, this is, for one, crazy. Two, really exciting. Three, completely unsustainable, right? You cannot maintain this. I don't care if you're in the you know, splurge part of a bull market or you're in the depths of a bear. That sort of crazy, like,
but Jared,
action is unsustainable. It's unsustainable.
But think about this though, right? I had a friend of mine who was at a wedding last year, right, when other deeds, right, which part of the Bored Ape Yacht Club, shout out to them, nothing against anyone. It was 13, almost on average 13 Ethereum to mint the other side deed property, which was 2.5 Ethereum.
Yeah,
and
yeah, totally.
I remember this happening, and I'm like, oh man, that's a lot to play with. That to me seems like a paper hand play, and then you come back in, try to recoup your gas fee. But again, they were able to create that hype enough to that it clogged up the Ethereum network. So
yeah,
you know, that
I mean, things like that are out of control in a sense that, like you said, there's no winning in that sort of scenario, right? However, there is some merit to the Ethereum side when you want to talk about like, you know, gas fees in their most innocuous form, where it's just like a regular Ethereum gas fee. We're not talking about like a gas war, or like, you know, trying to outmint somebody else, but like having to spend a couple $100 on a gas fee keeps people respectable in the fact that you're not going to flip an NFT to make $20. Correct. The other side of that is, you know, on a blockchain like Elron, we have an extremely frictionless, very easy to use system, zero gas. But the other side of that is that people are going to mint like crazy. They're going to take a 20% hit on the mint because what do they care? They're going to lose $20 at the end of the day. And it makes it harder for us to grow as an ecosystem because there isn't that consequence that exists there with an Ethereum project, right? So it is a double-edged sword, and there are merits on both sides. And I would never go out of my way to be like, oh, this is the end-all be-all for blockchains. I love Elron. I think the technology completely shits on so many other L1s out there. And I think it's just a matter of time before it gets into the zeitgeist of all, you know, the major crypto people who are into NFTs to take notice. But right now, CryptoPittz, we're positioning ourselves like a lot of other more intelligent projects out there to be part of that forefront and that push when it actually happens, right?
And by the way,
we're learning from the mistakes of these other blockchains. We're learning from the ecosystems that they've existed in for longer than we have. So I'm bullish about the future of our project, about the future of Elron, and about the future of NFTs in general, regardless of the L1.
I agree with you. I agree. And I like the idea of what you're doing, right? It's membership, it's access, it creates exclusivity. And then before, when we talked about the reverse engineering to give the general floor of the bottom 20% opportunity to come in, let's talk a little bit about the Myra app, right? I said I love this app. It's very easy to use. You know, they have a burn function in there, which I thought was interesting on how that was introduced by Benjamin Minsu and the team from Elron. Tell me a little bit about the Meyer app and what your favorite feature is on there and why you guys like using it.
Steve's got more experience there. I'm gonna let him take that.
Oh no, I mean, you know, I was here since the first release of the Meyer app. You know, I was one of the first people who had a hero tag custom built for myself. But no, honestly, you know, the Meyer app makes it for people like me who are kind of the lowest common denominator of tech enthusiasts to have you know, access to the Elron ecosystem, and it makes it a one-stop shop. It's really fun. The UX UI is, I'm sure, Craig, you've covered this, ab libitum, is just completely you know, levels above the rest in terms of its easeability of use. It's nice that it's got the functionality now built in that kind of highlights the NFT ecosystem. The industry looks at all the different projects with the new Inspire app that's been API'd into the app
Yep.
itself. Obviously, having the accessibility not just of Elron coins, but you know, you could actually store Bitcoin, you could store, you know, BNB, you could store Ethereum on chain on the Meyer app. So it kind of offers people who have Bitcoin, who have Ethereum, who have you know, Binance Coin, BNB, to kind of maybe experiment a little bit with just using the app like
By the way,
a wallet.
let me ask you that. So can somebody, because I'm always learning these little nuances, can someone take Ethereum from their MetaMask and transfer it over to the Ethereum in their Meyer wallet?
Yes, they can. Just
And then
as
they
a
can
normal.
swap that out for eGold right in the
No,
app. No.
no, that
Okay.
is not true.
That would be in a
No.
DEX.
That would be through, you would have to use some sort of exchange out. So the DEX, you know, everything, honestly, if you look at what CryptoPittz is doing, in many ways, we're trying to model exactly after what Elron is doing, right? They're creating this entire bridge to everything within their ecosystem, as we're trying to create
Right.
bridges to their ecosystem. So their DEX that they've developed works very nicely with their app, you know, Myar, right? And so you can have the opportunity with the bridge, the Ad Astar bridge now, to migrate ERC20 tokens into the Elron ecosystem, right? That's
Yeah.
possible. We did that with UTK, Utrust, I believe CPay. I could be wrong on that one, but of course USDC. You know, USDC is nothing more than a wrapped USDC on our side, but an ERC20 on their side. So the Meyer app just gives, and with the advent of the hero tag, I mean, it just makes it so simple. Like, people do not want to remember a wallet, even that alphanumeric of a wallet, you know,
Right.
address is very daunting to people. It's like, oh my
Right.
gosh, like, what is this? And do I have to be a computer scientist to use one of these? And
Well,
Meyer kind of
you
eliminates that barrier.
well, you think about like on the Ethereum blockchain, you think about what's the most one of the NFTs that are trading the most are domain names,
Yeah.
ENSs, right? And here you are, you get your own hero tag for free. My not my hero tag, but my ENS is metastaterealtor.eth because I'm a realtor. So for
Nice.
me to have that there was great, but that cost me a few $100s when I did it. So that's something to be aware of. All right, so let's talk about, we're going to talk about Curtis Cullymore, right? To the CP family, right? Art to me, and always will be, incredibly important when I am heading towards or attracted to everyday businesses and fully formed, mature NFT collections like yours, right? So the art plays an embodiment or an idea of the feeling that I get from the art that I'm looking at. So that visual creates the emotion, which then gets me involved. You now have attracted me into the community. Now what? So I feel like Curtis Cullymore through, I'm assuming, Dope Eagles, CryptoPittz, Vice Pits. Is there anything? I mean, obviously there are other things that I'm forgetting, but those are the three primaries that I'm thinking of when it comes to the creation of that algorithmically generated art. I mean, he's had his hand in all of that. Am I correct?
Yo, Curdy's the mastermind when it comes to pretty much anything that CryptoPittz touches. He is one of the main creative forces. Him and I work on a team together to create more of the algorithmic aspect of things. I have a lot of input when it comes to sort of designing the algorithm, choosing the traits, the overall look of the collection, but largely the artistic portion of it is completely shouldered by Curdy. He does 3D rendering. He does 2D artwork. The guy's a muralist, a graffiti artist. He literally does it all. He's one of the most talented people I've ever met, and
And
he
a
has
heck
a
of a
work ethic.
kisser, a heck of a kisser. I think we have to
One of those
put that
two.
Well,
out
that
there.
He wears a ball gag
yeah,
like you would not
it's
believe.
Never seen
it's
a
and
man in a ball gag
but
before Curtis.
but that's cool because here's the other thing. The artists now are going to start to be rewarded, right, in perpetuity. We know that. And
Yeah.
the building of peer-to-peer is going to create a lot of very wealthy, talented artists that were broke artists before or were just trying to get by, having a restaurant job. They're now going to be able to fully focus on their passion thanks to the advent of non-fungible tokens, NFTs. What is TFM?
It's an acronym.
Yep.
Well, TFM is the faceless many. TFM is a partnership we recently completed. Where we created Curdy Collmore created a series of AI RoboCats, which is kind of the introduction of the villain in the Pitt's lore, if you will. TFM is a very interesting project in their own realm. They're very story based. They're kind of a creative expression. They really have they're a very visionary led team by their leadership in terms of looking at kind of how the world is changing to adapt and adopting blockchain technology and NFT specifically. And so, we found a lot of alignment. We thought a great opportunity for us, CryptoPittz, to introduce this villain who we've been sort of, having in our parking lot for a little while now. What a good way to sort of introduce him to the world would be. And, TFM had this corrupted line subsidiary project of villains that were kind of attacking the good guys within their ecosystem. And we said, hey, this is like a really fun way to sort of introduce our villain. Kind of fits into that sort of, AI tech. Their corrupted line was like an AI generated art project, actually. So, just thought it was a really good opportunity for us to segue and introduce this product line. But other than that, we're proud of TFM being a member of the Elrond ecosystem. I'm sure they're proud of CryptoPittz being a part of the Elrond ecosystem. So
I love it.
mutually,
They're just one of the pioneering projects out there too. I'll also say about TFM, and they're really adapting the idea of, as Steve mentioned, like bringing storytelling to blockchain. And I think that's one of their major creative focuses and drives. If you listen to those guys talk, they're incredibly passionate. They're also an American team like we are. We noticed a lot of synergy between, our communities and our ethos. And we just wanted to be able to kind of reach into their community and theirs, be able to maybe pick up some people from ours and just, share in some mutual success. So yeah, it was a great opportunity for us to be able to introduce this villain that we've been trying to figure out a way to work it in. And the synergy of the AI story was really cool because ours are, it's a little bit sillier on the CryptoPittz side, but it's like AI, advanced sentient cats that are going to do battle with the
well, you know what?
CryptoPittz.
That's
So
cool, but it speaks
it'll be
to all
fun.
these. We just talked about maybe 3 or 4 during this podcast, 3 or 4 really good partnerships that you had that all served a unique purpose, whether they had technology, whether they were another NFT community, the relationships that you guys have with Super Rare Bears. All right, so here's another thing that I've noticed, and I obviously last year when I was doing this deep dive is everybody had a philanthropic purpose. There was something, giving to a well, giving to this, giving to that. But what I thought was really cool is because you guys are so organized and because everything is constructed so clearly that your cause or purpose, I believed it more. I'm not saying that the other projects or some other projects out there in any ethos, because there's thousands of Web3 projects. So I'm not speaking of anybody specifically or any community specifically, but the credibility was created enough to go, yeah, that's exactly what's happening with this money when they say this. So, every project has a cause, right? So the decision to use a canine avatar belongs to the founder, you, Jared, who conceptualized the project as a means to raise awareness and funds towards canine humanitarian efforts. The CryptoPittz has pledged 25% of all royalties from sales of the Genesis collection in perpetuity to canine humanitarian efforts. Jared, can you expand on this for me?
Sure. And I cannot take all the credit when it comes to that. One of our other co-founders, as I mentioned before, Adam Batbull, right around the time that we were coming up with the idea, because I had this thing in my head when we were putting together the idea for an algorithmic project, and we were trying to figure out, like, what characters can we use? What sort of cause could we also get behind? Because at the end of the day, it's like if we're selling JPEGs over the internet, like let's use a little bit of that money to do some good, and maybe we can tap into you know, some of these communities. And one of the things that like I think most people can get on board with is like that there are a lot of dogs out there in need of, you know, assistance and rehoming and rehabilitation. You know, there are tons of great causes and rescues. It's kind of near and dear to my heart, as well as, like I said, with Bat Bull. He was adopting a pit bull right around the same time that we came up with this. And my significant other, she's been in the veterinary medicine field for a really long time. And then also, you mentioned TFM earlier. Alex from TFM, who we've been talking to for quite some time, you know, this place where he volunteers with his wife was a beneficiary of our first donation of our royalties. And I know we've said in the Genesis collection, but we've actually kind of adapted that to all of our collections, you know, 25% of which will be earmarked for this purpose forever. So, I mean, it was just really a way for us, again, to like sort of tap into something that like everybody can kind of get on board with, even maybe if you aren't into NFTs. I think, you know, you could get behind the idea of like helping
100%.
out a rescue, you know, so
100%.
yeah.
You know, I want to finish it off on this because I think this is the perfect line that really embodies what you guys are doing. CryptoPittz are testing the limits in complexity for generative algorithmic NFTs. And what you guys are doing in the space, developing a loyal following of holders and collectors who really appreciate the passion that you guys have at every turn, really gets me excited for the future of not only the Elrond blockchain or network, but for the CryptoPittz and for you two specifically. I'm so excited to see two great people who team up together to really grow something extraordinary. Gentlemen, it has been an honor having you on Craig's Crypto Corner today.
Rock on.
We loved it, Craig. Thank you.
No, this is great.
Great.
Yeah. We're always excited to get out there, especially for content creators with you know, who is as aspiring as you and as professional as you are. Like it's refreshing. And it's
I feel like we needed bow ties. I think we messed up, Jared. That's where things went wrong.
We should have wore the Dumb and Dumber, like not orange and
I also,
blue with the top hat.
Before we get offline, I also want to give a shout out to everybody from the Elrond network. We had about 35 plus people who hopped on to listen for this probably hour and 15-minute conversation in and out. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, and go subscribe to Craig's Crypto Corner. We've got the Linktree YouTube channel. We're about 230 subscribers there. I love you all. I appreciate you two gentlemen for hopping on today. Jared and Steve, it's been an honor. We're going to grow this relationship, and I want to support what you guys are doing because you're not selling hype. You're selling honesty and transparency and wanting to grow and support
we just sprinkle in a little bit of hype. It's like 4.7% hype.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, take it easy, Craig.